Life is full of second chances, but not every person deserves a front row seat in your peace. We've all been told to forgive, to let go, to be the bigger person, but at what cost? Today, we're going to uncover the wisdom behind knowing when to extend grace and when to walk away. Because your peace is not a sacrifice, it's a priority. Ladies and gentlemen, listen to me carefully. Life is about decisions, and one of the most critical decisions you will ever make is WHO you allow back into your life. You see, we live in a world that tells us, give them another chance. People change, be kind, be forgiving. But the question you must ask yourself is, at what cost? Many of us have been hurt not once, but twice, because we gave someone a second chance without using wisdom. And let's be honest, the pain of being betrayed again, lied to again, disappointed again, hurts even more than the first time. Why? Because now you're not just dealing with their mistake, you're dealing with the weight of knowing, I let this happen. You see, being wise doesn't mean you lack compassion. It doesn't mean you're cold-hearted or unforgiving. No, it means you value your peace. It means you understand that love without boundaries is not love. It's self-destruction. The truth is, not everyone deserves a second chance. I know that's hard to hear, but it's the reality. Just because someone is sorry doesn't mean they've changed. And just because they want another opportunity doesn't mean they've earned it. Real change is not proven by words, it's proven by actions, by consistency, by a transformation that speaks louder than an apology. So, here's the question. How do you know when giving a second chance is the right decision? Well, let me give you something to remember. Trust must be rebuilt, not repeated. If someone truly values another chance, they will prove it through their behavior, not just their emotions. They won't rush you. They won't manipulate you. They won't guilt trip you into letting them back in. No, they will respect your need for time, for space, for evidence of change. And hear me well, just because you forgive someone doesn't mean you must restore them to their former place in your life. Forgiveness is free, but access is earned. Some people were removed for a reason, and bringing them back could cost you your peace, your joy, even your destiny. Now, you may be thinking, but what if they really change? What if I'm being too harsh? And that's a fair question. That's why wisdom is key. Because wisdom will help you see beyond the surface. It will help you recognize whether this person is truly different or just temporarily behaving better. And let me tell you, wisdom is what separates people who keep repeating the same mistakes from those who learn, grow, and protect their future. So, before you give that second chance, stop. Ask yourself, is this a moment of wisdom or weakness? Because your peace is too valuable to gamble with. But let's go deeper, because what happens when your heart is telling you yes, but your mind is telling you no? Let's talk about that. Let me ask you something. Have you ever forgiven someone, let them back into your life, only to realize they haven't changed at all? Have you ever been in a situation where your heart said, give them another chance, but your mind said, be careful? This is where so many people get stuck, because we've been taught that forgiveness means restoration. That if we truly forgive, we should allow people back into our lives the same way they were before. But let me tell you the truth. Forgiveness and discernment must walk together. Forgiveness is about you. It's about releasing the pain, the resentment, the bitterness, so it doesn't poison your future. But discernment is about them. It's about recognizing who they are now, not who they promise to be. It's about understanding that just because someone is remorseful doesn't mean they're reliable. Too many people have sacrificed their peace because they confused forgiveness with foolishness. They thought that moving on meant going back. But hear me. Just because you forgive someone doesn't mean they automatically deserve a place in your life. Real forgiveness is wise. It's not blind. It doesn't ignore patterns. It doesn't overlook red flags. It doesn't let history repeat itself under the disguise of a second chance. Because here's the reality. Some people are sorry they hurt you, but they are not sorry enough to change. They're sorry they got caught. They're sorry they lost access. They're sorry they have to start over. But if they had the chance to do it again and get away with it, would they? That's the question you need to ask yourself. So how do you know if your forgiveness should come with another opportunity? You have to look for fruit, not emotions, not words, not temporary behavior, fruit. If someone has truly changed, you won't have to guess. You won't have to investigate. Change is not something that needs to be convinced. It reveals itself over time. Think about it. If someone broke your trust, but now they are impatient with your healing process, pressing you to move on, that's not change, that's control. If they say they've learned, but their actions still look the same, that's not growth, that's a performance. Wisdom teaches us that while forgiveness is a gift, access is a privilege. You can love someone from a distance. You can wish them well without welcoming them back. You can release the past without repeating it. So before you extend another chance, ask yourself, am I making this decision from a place of wisdom? Or am I letting guilt and emotions lead me? Because your future is not something to be gambled with. But let's take it deeper. Because the real challenge is not just identifying who deserves another chance, it's knowing how to set the right boundaries without feeling guilty. Let's talk about that next. Let's be honest, some of the biggest battles you will ever fight won't be with enemies. They will be with the people you love. Because love makes you vulnerable. Love makes you want to believe in people, to see the best in them, to give them another chance. But here's the reality. Love without wisdom can cost you your peace. How many times have you said yes when you really wanted to say no? How many times have you felt the weight of someone else's problems on your shoulders, draining your joy, disturbing your peace? All because you didn't want to seem mean or cold-hearted. Let me tell you something. Peace is not just a feeling. It's a standard. It's the foundation for a healthy life. And anything that keeps pulling you into a state of chaos, stress, and anxiety needs to be evaluated. People will come into your life and test your ability to balance grace with boundaries. Yes, you can be kind, but you don't have to be naive. Yes, you can be forgiving, but you don't have to be foolish. Yes, you can show grace, but you are not required to sacrifice yourself in the process. Some of you are carrying the weight of other people's mistakes, trying to fix what they keep breaking. You're spending sleepless nights worrying about people who sleep just fine after hurting you. You're giving them access to your energy, your time, your mind. And what are they giving you? You see, when you allow someone back into your life, you're making a choice. And choices have consequences. The question is, are you choosing peace or are you choosing more pain? You don't owe anyone unlimited access just because you care about them. You don't have to explain why you're protecting your space. People who value you will respect your boundaries. But people who only value what you can do for them will call you selfish the moment you say no. And that's how you know who was really for you And let me tell you something, if maintaining your peace means saying no to people who refuse to respect you, then say no without apology. If protecting your mental and emotional well-being means creating distance, then do it without guilt. Your peace is not up for negotiation. But let's be real. Some of the hardest people to set boundaries with are the ones closest to you. What do you do when the ones you love the most are the ones hurting you the most? How do you handle the guilt of walking away when your heart is telling you to stay? Let's talk about that next. Let's talk about something that makes a lot of people uncomfortable. Saying no to people you love. Because love can make you do things that don't always make sense. It can make you lower your standards, ignore red flags, and tolerate behavior that you would never accept from a stranger. But here's what you need to understand. Love and loyalty should never come at the expense of your peace. And just because you have a good heart doesn't mean you have to be a doormat. Some of you have been stuck in cycles of pain because you keep confusing mercy with unlimited access. You think that because someone is struggling, they have the right to drain you, that because they're going through a hard time, you have to put yourself on the line just to prove you care. But let me ask you something. Who's looking out for you? There's a fine line between helping someone and enabling them, between supporting them and allowing them to use you. And if you don't recognize that line, you will find yourself empty, frustrated, and resentful. Giving and giving while they keep taking and taking. Mercy is about understanding. It's about compassion. But boundaries? Boundaries are about protection. Because listen, if you keep rescuing someone from the consequences of their own actions, they will never learn the lesson. If you keep giving them chance after chance without requiring growth, they will assume that their behavior has no consequences. Some of you have been praying for peace, but you keep inviting chaos back into your life. You're asking for clarity, but you're ignoring the warning signs. You're hoping they will change, but you're not requiring proof. Hear me. You can love someone and still say, I will not allow this behavior in my life. You can care about someone and still say, I refuse to let you manipulate me with guilt. You can have compassion without making excuses for people who refuse to change. And if someone gets offended because you set boundaries, that's your confirmation that the boundary was necessary. Because people who truly love you will respect your limits. But people who only love what you can do for them, they will make you feel guilty for protecting yourself. So ask yourself today, am I being merciful or am I allowing myself to be mistreated? Because the two are not the same. But what happens when the person hurting you is someone you never expected? Someone you once trusted, someone you thought would never betray you. How do you handle the shock of realizing that someone you loved was never really for you? Let's talk about that next. Have you ever given someone another chance and then regretted it? Have you ever looked back and thought, I should have listened to my gut. I should have walked away. I should have known better. The truth is, second chances are not automatic. Just because someone asks for one doesn't mean they deserve one. And just because you want to believe in them doesn't mean you should. The biggest mistake people make is thinking that time changes people. That if enough days go by, if enough tears are shed, if enough promises are made, then surely this time things will be different. But the reality is, time doesn't change people. Truth does. And the truth is not found in what they say, it's found in what they show. Let's be clear, there's a big difference between someone who regrets losing you and someone who is ready to treat you right. Some people don't miss you, they miss the benefits of being in your life. They don't miss your presence, they miss your support. They don't miss your love, they miss your loyalty. And if you're not careful, you'll mistake their desperation for transformation. So, how do you know when a second chance is a mistake? Pay attention to how they respond to your boundaries. Are they patient? Are they consistent? Or do they try to rush the process? Do they get defensive when you express your concerns? Do they try to manipulate you into feeling guilty for needing time? Because if they truly changed, they will prevent without pressure. You need to ask yourself, has this person learned from the past, or are they just trying to reset it? Are they making excuses, or are they taking responsibility? Are they showing real growth, or are they just on their best behavior until they get comfortable again? And hear me, someone who truly values another chance will treat it like an opportunity, not an entitlement. They won't expect you to move on as if nothing happened. They won't demand immediate trust. They won't try to bypass the process of rebuilding what they broke. Some of you keep giving out second chances, not because they earned it, but because you fear being alone, because you feel bad for them, because you hope that maybe this time things will be different. But hope is not a strategy. Hope without wisdom leads to heartbreak. So if you have to convince yourself that they've changed, if you have to keep lowering your instincts, if you have to lower your standards just to make the second chance work, then you already have your answer. But what if the mistake isn't just about them? What if the real challenge is breaking your own habit of accepting less than you deserve? What if the real issue isn't about giving second chances, but learning how to choose yourself first? Let's talk about that next. Let me ask you a question. When was the last time you put yourself first? When was the last time you made a decision not based on what others wanted, but on what you needed? Because for some of you, the real struggle is not whether someone deserves a second chance, it's whether you believe you deserve better. Too often, people hold on to toxic relationships, unhealthy friendships, and draining connections, not because they don't know it's bad for them, but because they don't value themselves enough to walk away. They settle for pain disguised as love. They tolerate disrespect disguised as loyalty. And they keep making excuses for why they can't leave when deep down they know they should. But hear me. When you choose yourself, you don't lose anything worth keeping. You don't lose true love. You don't lose true loyalty. You don't lose anyone who was truly for you. What you lose is the weight of carrying people who were never meant to go where you're headed. And let's be real, choosing yourself isn't always easy. It means saying no when it would be easier to say yes. It means setting boundaries even when it makes people uncomfortable. It means letting go of the idea that your worth is tied to how much you can sacrifice for someone else. Some of you have been trained to believe that choosing yourself is selfish, that prioritizing your peace, your happiness, your future makes you a bad person. But let me tell you something. Self-care is not selfishness. Protecting your heart is not cruelty. And refusing to settle is not a character flaw. You were not created to be a refill station for people who only show up when they need something. You are not a dumping ground for other people's problems. You are not required to keep fixing, rescuing, and accommodating people at the expense of yourself. Because let's be honest, how many times have you given someone another chance and ended up more broken than before? How many times have you ignored the warning signs just to end up hurt again? How many times have you sacrificed your own well-being just to keep the wrong people in your life? It's time to choose different. It's time to stop making decisions based on loneliness, guilt, or fear. It's time to stop shrinking yourself. Is the moment you start attracting people who respect you, value you, and match the love that you give. But here's the challenge. What do you do when choosing yourself requires you to walk away from people you never thought you'd lose? How do you deal with the pain of letting go, even when you know it's necessary? Let's talk about that next. Let's be honest. Walking away is hard. Letting go of someone you love, someone you've invested in, someone you thought would always be there, is one of the most painful decisions you will ever have to make. Because deep down, you don't just grieve the person, you grieve the future you thought you would have with them. You grieve the memories that could have been. You grieve the hope that maybe, just maybe, they will finally see your worth. And that's why so many people hold on, not because they don't know better, but because the idea of letting go feels like losing a part of themselves. But hear this, sometimes the very thing you are afraid of losing is the very thing that is holding you back. Some people are not meant to stay in your life forever. Some connections were only supposed to be temporary. And the longer you hold on to something that is not growing, not evolving, not feeding your future, the longer you delay what is truly meant for you. Letting go is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of growth. It means you have finally recognized that you cannot keep pouring into something that refuses to pour back into you. It means you have finally accepted that peace is worth more than proximity. It means you have finally decided that your future is more important than your history. And yes, it's painful. It hurts to walk away from people you love. It hurts to release relationships that once felt like home. It hurts to accept that no matter how much you care, you cannot force someone to be who you need them to be. But here's the truth. You cannot heal in the same environment that broke you. You cannot grow in a place where you are constantly being undervalued, disrespected, or taken for granted. You cannot move forward while dragging the weight of people who refuse to change. Some of you have been holding on because you're afraid of starting over. You're afraid of the silence, the emptiness, the unfamiliarity. But let me tell you something. Letting go is not the end. It's the beginning. Because when you release what is no longer serving you, you make room for what is meant for you. You are not meant to spend your life begging for love, forcing loyalty, or proving your worth. When you finally let go, you realize that you were never asking for too much. You were just asking the wrong person. But here's the real challenge. Once you've let go, how do you heal? How do you rebuild your confidence, your heart, your trust? How do you make sure you never repeat the same mistake again? Let's talk about that next. Letting go is one thing, but healing, that's the real work. Because when you walk away from something that once meant everything to you, it leaves a void. And if you're not careful, that void will make you second guess yourself. It will whisper thoughts like, did I make the right choice? Maybe I overreacted. Maybe I should have tried harder. What if I never find better? But hear this. Healing is not about looking back. It's about moving forward. It's about refusing to let your past pain become your future pattern. It's about making sure that the hurt someone else caused doesn't become the reason you stop believing in love, in trust in yourself. Some people think healing is just about time, that if you just wait long enough, the pain will fade. But the truth is, healing is not passive. It's intentional. Healing is a decision. It's choosing every single day to prioritize your peace, your growth, your happiness. And let's be real, healing is uncomfortable because it forces you to face the truth. It forces you to look in the mirror and ask yourself, why did I tolerate less than I deserve? What made me stay so long? What was I afraid of losing that I didn't realize I had already lost myself? You see, healing is not just about getting over the person. It's about getting over the mindset that allowed them to stay in your life for so long. It's about breaking the cycle of choosing people who don't choose you. It's about building boundaries so that you never find yourself in the same situation again. And hear me, just because someone hurt you doesn't mean you have to carry that pain forever. You have the power to redefine your story. You have the power to take the lessons and leave the heartbreak. You have the power to choose joy again, love again, trust again, but this time with wisdom. But let me warn you, healing will challenge you. It will challenge your habits, your thoughts, your self-worth, because some of you have been so used to brokenness that peace feels unfamiliar. You've been so used to struggling for love that ease feels uncomfortable. But let me tell you something. Peace is not a luxury, it's a right. And you don't have to earn it by suffering first. So what do? You focus on you. You pour into yourself the way you once poured into others. You set new standards, not just for relationships, but for how you allow people to treat you. You remind yourself every single day, I am worthy, I am enough. I am no longer available for anything that drains me, confuses me, or makes me question my value. But here's the final challenge. How do you make sure that after all this healing, after all this growth, you don't fall back into the same trap? How do you recognize the signs early before you ever have to heal from them again? Let's talk about that next. One of the biggest mistakes people make is thinking that red flags only show up later, that toxicity, disrespect, manipulation just appears out of nowhere. But the truth is, the signs were always there. You just didn't want to see them. Think about it. Have you ever looked back on a situation and thought, I knew something wasn't right. I felt it. I saw the signs, but I ignored them because I wanted it to work. That's the problem. We don't miss the signs. We miss what we wanted the situation to be. But hear this. When you know better, you do better. You've already been through the heartbreak. You've already learned the hard way. Now it's time to protect your peace by recognizing the signs before you have to recover from them. So what should you look for? First, pay attention to how people handle accountability. Do they take responsibility for their actions, or do they blame others, make excuses, and play the victim? Because if someone cannot own their mistakes, they will never truly change. Watch their consistency. Anyone can be on their best behavior for a short time. Do their actions match their words, or do they say the right things while doing the opposite? Listen to your gut. Your intuition is a powerful tool. If something feels off, don't explain it away. Don't silence yourself just to keep the peace, because the peace you ignore in the beginning will be the war you fight in the end. And let's talk about boundaries. How do they respond when you say no? When you ask for space? When you express your needs? Because a person who truly respects you will never try to guilt you into compromising yourself. Some of you have ignored these signs before because you wanted to believe in someone's potential, because you thought if you just loved them enough, helped them enough, stood by them long enough, they would finally change. But hear this, potential means nothing without action. You cannot build a healthy relationship on who someone could be. You can only build it on who they choose to be. It's time to stop making excuses for people who refuse to grow. It's time to stop giving unlimited chances to people who continue to show you the same behavior. It's time to trust yourself enough to walk away at the first sign of disrespect, dishonesty, or inconsistency. Because the truth is, protecting your peace is not about isolating yourself. It's about surrounding yourself with the right people. People who genuinely care. People who bring value to your life. People who don't just love you, but respect you. And that brings us to the final step. Once you've learned all of this, how do you apply it? How do you make sure you never settle again? Let's talk about that next. After everything you've learned, after all the pain you've outgrown, after all the lessons you've embraced, the real challenge is making sure you never settle again. Because here's the truth. Growth doesn't just come from what you go through. It comes from what you choose after. Some people go through heartbreak, betrayal, disappointment, and still go back to the same kind of relationships, the same patterns, the same toxic cycles. Not because they want to suffer, but because they never took the time to heal properly. And if you don't heal, you will keep attracting what hurt you. You will keep mistaking familiarity for love. You will keep ignoring red flags because you're chasing comfort instead of growth. But you've come too far to go back to what broke you. You've come too far to keep accepting less than you deserve. This time, you choose different. This time, you set your standards and you don't apologize for them. You don't lower your expectations just to make someone else comfortable. You don't tolerate bare minimum effort and call it love. You don't let loneliness push you into the arms of someone who only gives you pieces of what you deserve. This time, you trust yourself. You believe what people show you, not just what they tell you. You recognize early signs of toxicity and you walk away without guilt, without hesitation, without explaining yourself to people who were never meant to go with you in the first place. This time, you build your life on peace, not chaos. On wisdom, not impulses. On discernment, not desperation. Because you finally understand you don't need to beg for what is meant for you. You don't need to chase what is aligned with you. You don't need to fight for a place in anyone's life. The right people will always make room for you. So from this moment forward, you walk with confidence. You walk with clarity. You walk knowing that you are whole with or without someone else. That your peace is too valuable to be compromised. That your love is too rare to be wasted. That your future is too great to be delayed by anything or anyone that does not align with your preface. Because in the end, life is too short to keep learning the same lesson over and over again. It's time to move forward. It's time to choose yourself. It's time to never settle again. And if you ever find yourself questioning whether you're making the right decision, just remember this. Anything that costs you your peace is too expensive to keep.